to start, I hope, with short introductions. Just give us your first name, your age, and maybe one topic or thing or a concept that fascinates you, and explain it in one sentence or shorter. If no one has any other suggestions for the guidelines, okay, thank you, Balša, for the like. I propose we should start. I'm going to start with saying my name is Miloš, I'm 19, and the topic that interests me and fascinates me is astrophysics, which is very pretentious, but I don't really care. We can continue now in alphabetical order. If everyone knows their alphabet, we start with Balša Božović.
Hi everyone, my name is Balša Božović. I'd like to thank Miloš for hosting this cafe, because I think out of all of us, he has the most guts to do this. I'm 18, and one thing that fascinates me is electronics, any kind of electronics, anything that has to do with dealing with electricity and building stuff with your own two hands. That's basically it. Thank you.
Is it me? Okay, I'll go next. Hello everyone, my name is Anja Đoković. I'm 18 and I want to be a doctor, and I really aspire to be a cardiosurgeon. And that's all that you need to know about me, basically.
Am I next? The name is Nenad. I'm interested in telling and listening to stories. That's about it.
I'll go next. Hello, my name is Mina. I'm 18 years old, and I would say I'm interested in many things, but currently I like to read about religion. Even though I'm not particularly religious, that's something I am interested in right now. Thank you.
So now would be my turn. So my name is Milica Vušanović. I'm 18 and my interest is mostly physics, but I also, as Mina said, enjoy doing many things, so which include philosophy, reading, and so on.
Is it my turn?
Well, we can go in any order. It doesn't really matter. I just want
whatever.
to have
So my name is Ivana. I'm 18. I guess I'm interested in like art and communication and stuff like that. So yeah, that's it.
I guess it's my turn now. I'm Jelena, I'm 18, and I'm interested in big projects and business and how everything works in big companies.
I can go next. I am Helena. I'm also 18. I enjoy mathematics, but also arts, mostly photography.
Could it be my turn now? I wish you all to have a nice day, for instance, and I want to say that I feel pleasure to be here. I am Nevena Đurtić. I am 18 years old, and I want to be a psychologist one day. And I was very happy to see that Pascale is a social psychologist too when I saw her Facebook, and I think this will be very interesting. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Tara. I'm 19, and I'm really interested by art in any sense of that word. So I really like literature and music and film and things like that. Thank you.
Sara, would you like to say something about you?
Oh, is it my turn?
Oh, yes, of course.
Oh, sure. I'm Sara. I'm 18. I'm going to study to be a physical chemist, but right now I've been
really fascinated by the culture of ancient Greece and specifically, like, I guess, the cult or religion of Orphism. So that's that.
I think that all students said something about themselves. Am I right?
Yes. Now the more experienced members can introduce themselves.
Okay, Pascale, it's your
Not
turn.
that we wanted to be separated from the rest, but since my name starts with an M, I wasn't quite sure where we were in the alphabetical order. My name is Pascale Mompoint Gaillard, and I'm 56. And if I had to choose one interest to put on top of the others, it would be everything that has to do with learning. Learning in individuals, learning in organizations, and learning on systemic levels, global levels. Check.
Okay, now you have stolen my idea. So I have to say that my interest is my favorite interest besides learning, because I'm learning all my life. As you know, you are my teacher as well. I'm 55, 56, I'm not quite sure, 55. And I'm interested in friendship, in all different forms of friendship, because we could be friends with other people, but friendship is more than a relationship between two persons. Someone can be a friend to a world, and the one who wants to be a friend to a world has to say Ubuntu. I am what I am because what we all are. Not only people, but animals, plants, the whole planet. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Now I propose we start with a bit more theoretical, let's say, foundation of the topic of friendship in philosophy, which is a topic that's been studied by philosophers for as long as philosophy itself. Aristotle is the first one chronologically that discussed it, and mostly all of his foundings and writings about friendship have stood the test of time. He talked a lot about what true friendship is, but he also talked a lot about what friendship really means to a person's life and why it's important on a more spiritual level. I'm glad that we have a professional psychologist with us today, because friendship is also a topic that's more often discussed in terms of psychology rather than philosophy. But I would also like to focus today's discussion on the more, should I say, profound nature of friendship rather than just making you feel good and happy. So I don't know if this is going to be boring to people, but I should start with what Aristotle basically said about true friendship. He said that true friendship is based on virtues rather than being satisfied and being happy with a person, which means that you should, to be a true friend, you really need to have a true friend, you need to deeply appreciate everything that the other person stands for, in a way that makes you live a better, fulfilled and more meaningful life. So if anyone wants to jump into that and tell us about their experience with friendships based on immediate pleasure and, let's use the word, fun, versus the friendships that are based more on understanding each other and being on the same page about difficult questions, let's say. So, okay, Balša, you can start us off. Again, we have a lot of people here, and it's safe to assume that all of these people have an opinion. So let's try to keep it as short as you possibly can. Not just Balša, but everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I would just like to add that in my personal experience, I think that when it comes to friendship, that maybe Aristotle was right, because I'm a kind of person that likes to give everyone a shot, and then if those people disappoint me and I find something that I can't stand with them in, like anything they believe in that I can't stand for and so on, then we just drift apart over time. And I only have a few really, really close friends that I can say they're really my true own friends, and I can see what Aristotle meant, because when I think of them, I think of everything I stand for, and I know that if I ever wanted to fight for something, they would stand with me in it too. Thank you.
Thank you, Balša. What about, this is a question directed to you, but anyone can jump in. How do you truly find out what someone stands for? You said you get sometimes someone disappoints you. How do you make that first image of them, and what is the most usual ways you get disappointed in your friends?
Well, their actions. I think it's always their actions, because the way they treat me and the way they treat the people in their life and the people around them is a great showing of a person and their virtues. I think that I can be friends with anyone, but I can't stay friends with anyone. That's definitely something that needs to be said, since people have a tendency to take advantage of people like me that are always outgoing and trying to help everyone and so on. And then when they see that they can take as much and not give as much, they try to take advantage of that. And that's one of the first showings that I can see that someone isn't really there for the friendship and can't ever be a true friend to me because of that.
So you believe that the true friend is selfless in a way, and okay.
Always.
Mina wanted to jump in the conversation?
Yes, well, I wanted to say something about the first question. About my personal experience with friendships in general. I think that true friendships are not really manageable and cannot be created or true friendships come with age, with maturity. And even though what I'm going to say sounds like much of a cliche, in my 18 years of life, it's a big lesson that if you don't know yourself, if you don't know your own moral codes and things that you value, you are not able to connect with anyone else in this world. So everything starts from yourself and getting to know yourself. Thank
you. Anya wants the word.
I wanted to say that I agree with what Mina just said, and I think that we choose our friendships and our friends and people that we generally want to spend time with based on the things that we like. I would not be with someone that I do not share some interests with. I think that we just look for the similarities for someone to accept us. I believe that we want someone to share our thoughts, but not completely, because we do not want to be with someone completely similar to us. But we do tend to be with someone, to spend our time with someone who thinks like us, but has their own certain way of thinking.
You said, and Jovan, I will give the word to you after, but you said that you want to open up to people, but not entirely. You think that's important? Do you think that you should keep some part of your identity as some part of your thinking to yourself and completely private, even with your closest friends?
I think that if you want, when you want to make friends with someone, you have to be open to try some things. But you always need to have that part of yourself that's just for you. But if you really find someone then that can accept you, because we're all afraid of not being accepted in some way. And if you really find someone that can accept you, you then get to choose if you want to, keep something for yourself, or do you really want to get out there?
Okay, that's an interesting thought. Thank you. Jovana?
So my opinion, I'll go through all three of the topics that Aristotle and the rest mentioned. First, as far as I know, Aristotle said that there are three kinds of friendship. Friendship for utility, which is most present in companies with business partners and etc. Then friendship with pleasure, which is the one that occurs the most, and it lasts the shortest. And this friendship for good, which is made for when people appreciate each other, when they see their virtues, you mentioned Miloš, or something like that. And of course, since it's so wide and it lasts, a long period of time, it also includes everything that other two kinds of friendships give. And then where does that intercept with Anya and Balša? It is about acceptance. And how is it mostly established? Even Aristotle mentioned that it's mostly established after some trouble that two people went through, same trouble. And when we see how that person dealt with that trouble, if we say, wow, he's so, smart or something else, he found a way to solve something that I didn't, then you'll admire him. And if he wanted to help you, you'll feel even greater affection towards that person than you would if he didn't care about you. Then what Balša mentioned, actions are important, but you can't say just if someone made a mistake, you can't discredit him completely. What I think is and this is the part where I connect those two actions. What we do is always connected to what kind of person we are. And sometimes we have to accept it. If we want to be friends with that person, we just have to accept that person is in that way. But the only condition under which I can't see any friendships possible, true friendship for good, not the other two kinds, is when two sides are not honest. You need to be honest, and then we'll go over every problem that you have, every mistake that you've made. But as soon as you start to make me a fool or try to cover up something that you've done, then I don't see that friendship is possible there.
Ivana?
I wanted to talk about something Balša said earlier. He said that he thinks true friends are unconditionally selfless, or did I catch that right? Okay, yeah. So I wanted to talk about how I don't think that's exactly that's not exactly how it should be, because friends, people shouldn't put themselves first, obviously, always, but if you're not putting yourself first, you're not caring for yourself, and just putting everybody else and everybody else's needs in front of your own, in the long run actually makes you a worse friend, and not actually being able to fulfill some your own and somebody else's needs.
So you would agree with Anya that to some degree you should always, let's say, focus on yourself and keep some things to yourself and not always be completely about your friend and other people?
There should be a balance between what you do for other people. It depends what you want to share with someone. It's not about sharing your feelings or your your needs. It's more about what you do for other people. What I was talking about, you shouldn't always accept everybody's invitation or everybody's cry for help if it's going to be harmful to you. But what Anya said was right, but also the part about having to have like the same interests with someone, I don't actually agree with that, because usually friendship is like most of my good friends are like people who I don't actually agree with on most things, but we have conversations about those things, and like we find the balance between what both of us think.
I think Nenad wanted to talk, but let me just say something. It appears that some of your reactions are not showing up to me. For example,
because it's not the reaction. You're supposed to have a different tab for raised hands. I don't know how it works exactly.
I don't think so. I think other people clicked on their raised hands, or this is actually a clap, I think, is what it's called.
Press participants, and the list will pop up.
Yeah, you click on participants.
Oh, okay, my bad. Okay. Sorry, I apologize to everyone. So, Nana, do you want to continue? I'm sorry, I'll get to all the people.
Yeah, it's fine. So, I wanted to disagree with one of the first statements that was given during this discussion. I do not believe that friendship is a contract of virtue. It's not a relationship based on virtue. It's a relationship based on, at least in my opinion, it's a relationship based on similarity and acceptance. I would like to connect what Abraham Tversky said about love. He talked about two different kinds of love: fish love and true love. So fish love is when you see somebody and you like them for what they bring to your life. This is mostly what people confuse with actual love. Actual love is when you take a part of yourself and give it to a person and love that part of yourself within them. So I would believe that friendship is a relationship based on a similar, if not the same principle. One does not have to share a virtue with somebody else in order to consider them a friend. I know as much from personal experience. There is a certain point in everybody's lives when you realize that not all of your friends are actually good people, but they are still your friends because you love them and care for them and cherish them. It's not a matter of disappointment. It's a matter of acceptance for who you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Nenad. Nevena?
Okay, so thank you for giving me a word. I agree with Nenad completely, and I love that thing that he said about fish love and true love, and that's something I believe that comes to all of our minds, because if we love someone truly, and that means unconditionally, where's that line that we need to draw when it comes to building a friendship? And if we are the only one who is trying hard to make that friendship work, and we are trying to compromise so that friendship needs to be built, and the other person does nothing but we still love them, where is that line where we have to just stop being their friends, even though if we love them? I don't know. And before, I wanted to say that I think that most friendships that we get in touch when we are younger, for example, when in the kindergarten, or I don't know, in middle school, in that time we are not we are not complete characters. So we choose people not by the character that we need, we choose character, I believe, unconsciously, and we don't choose people who we really need to be friends with, because I believe that we choose people that have the similar energy as we, and bad friendships happen when people are not complete with their energy, so the other person dominates in their relationship and so on, friendship or so on. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Nevena. Tara, do you want to add to the conversation?
Yes, thank you so much. I wanted to talk about something that Anya and Ivana mentioned. I think that although it is important to have friendships that are based on similar interests and opinions, I think it's very beneficial to us as people to have friendships with people who don't have the same interests and don't have the same opinions, because through conversations and different situations, we can learn something new and better ourselves as people, and also share our knowledge with someone else. So I think that it's having friends who are the same person as you, or that have the exact same mind or the exact same opinions, isn't the best way to go through life. And I think that having a mix of people who have the same kind of personality, but also people who you can disagree on topics with, is also really important.
Thank you, Tara. So what I got from all of these answers is that a lot of times it was mentioned that you should look for similarities and similar personalities, but we didn't really look into what that really means. What defines a personality? What makes someone similar to you? If a lot of people said that you shouldn't always agree on certain topics or opinions or difficult questions, what is that? Nevin offered the term energy. What is that really makes you you? What defines you as a person, and what defines your friend as a person? In what area are you looking for the similarities? Nada, do you wanna respond to that?
I would love to. I mean, on a basic level, on an objective level, what defines my personality and all of my characteristics is something in my chemistry, the chemicals that flow through my body, the way electricity moves from one neuron to another, and it is not too far-fetched to assume that our attraction to other people is based on things like that. It's just our chemicals doing what our chemicals do, and the electricity in our body doing what our electricity does. The energy that was mentioned until now is not something as abstract as something to do with the soul, with the mind, and things like that. We all know how the human body functions on a basic level. If we're talking on a more abstract interpersonal level, you asked about what defines a personality. I mean, one can offer only answers that you could hear everywhere. Our choices, our opinions, etc., etc. What we look within somebody who is similar to us is not the similarity itself. It's a form of affirmation. Human beings, as social creatures, try to find affirmation within a society, and such affirmation is easiest to found within a society that shares the most similarity with you. Thus, it is extremely based to say that, we are instinctively attracted to people similar to us. And while on the topic, I would also like to add that other than a similarity, people often try to find a sort of a challenge within a friend or anybody that we come into a relationship with.
Okay, thank you, Nevena.
Well, I wanted to say that there was a question that Nenad answered, and I wanted to add that I believe that energy is something among us. We just find ourselves complete with other person, and in that way, it means that we have the same values in life or in friendship, and that's how two persons meet. Because if we can't compromise with other person, we can't be their friend. So I wanted to hear Pascale saying something about this, because I really want to hear her opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Tara raised her hand next.
I did. I just wanted to say that obviously no human is the same as another one. We all have different personalities, different values, different opinions. But I think what it means to look for a friend who is like you is because people want to find validation, someone to validate their feelings, their opinions, and that's why usually people gravitate towards people that are similar in that sense. But obviously, those friendships along the line will uncover different opinions and differing things because no one is always the same as another person. But I just think those friendships are mainly based on validation or like initial attraction to someone's personality.
Thank you. I think Helena was next.
Thank you for giving me the word. I would just like to go on to what Sara was saying about the need to feel validated and seen. I would also say that is a really important part of a friendship because none of us want to live this hard life alone. We want to be seen. We want our feelings to be validated. But it is not only that we want to share that with people who share the same interests or have the same values as us. I usually find it to be quite challenging, but also interesting to strike up a friendship with a person who has completely different views on life or even values, or when you completely don't agree, it can be really interesting as you can broaden your horizons. And I think all friendships should have something that they do not necessarily totally agree on so that a conversation is always there to be developed. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Does Pascale want to say something to us now?
Yes, I can. Thank you for sharing all these nuanced ideas on friendship. It's not a topic that I think about so often, so it's interesting to be here. And it's also interesting because I received a letter this week from a friend, and she was actually talking about our friendship. And so I pulled it out to say, well, one thing she says that echoes, I think there's a resonance with what you're saying here. It was like this from the beginning. You listened for me and believed in what I say when no one was listening or believing. And I think in this letter, she's echoing something that I hear very strongly in what you're saying, which is this idea of acceptance. I think we're also not very well served by our language. So right now we're speaking in English. I don't know how it is in Montenegrin. But the more our language has different words to say friendship or different words to say love, because I think sometimes when you were talking, sometimes I wasn't sure, are you talking about friendship or love, or what's the relationship between the two would be a question that I would put back to the group, something I wonder about while listening. There is an idea of accepting the other, but in what you're saying, I hear also a lot of expectations about what a friendship should be. So what happens when you have expectations? What does it do to the relationship? Something I wonder about. And I have doubts about the effect of expectations on our capacity to be really accepting of the other. So that was a personal point of view, and also I'm trying to, I think is it Sara who was asking a psychological point of view? Who was asking?
I think it was Nevena who asked for your, yeah.
Okay. So that's the question that I would like to give to the group, I guess. Also, the question of similarity, I like that Miloš is asking us again, because what are we basing similarity on? Is it liking to do the same thing as another person, or having the same values, or having the same kind of education, sharing the same kind of language? So I'm not talking about French, English, or Montenegrin, same way of speaking. What do we base a feeling of similarity with someone?
So just to get this straight, do you believe that too much expectation puts strain on a potential friendship or relationship?
I wonder. I didn't think that.
But you don't believe that you should go into a friendship or any sort of relation without certain expectations?
Well, I think it's a question that I would love to continue having a conversation about.
Okay, we'll try and do that. I
would like to put maybe the question differently. What kind of effect do expectations have on our relationships?
Okay.
So there are two types of expectations too. You can say an expectation that is explicit or implicit. Meaning, am I someone who is able to, do I have the skills and the attitudes where my needs are made clear? So some kind of expectation has been laid out? Or are there some expectations that we cannot voice and we have not voiced? Are there some expectations maybe to which we are not yet privy to? We don't know that we have these expectations. They're more or less unconscious.
But you are heavily in favor of the explicit
do I really have to take a stance? Is that the rule?
Well, I sense that's the general mood of the conversation. Everyone has a stance, a very strong one too.
So wondering is not a stance.
I respect that deeply. Ivana has the word.
Thank you.
I wanted to really quick go back to what Nenad said, but I also find what Pascale said really interesting, so I want to talk about that too. But Nenad said the thing about how the chemicals and the electricity in humans attracts each other, and I find that that's a very cold way to talk about human connection, I guess, because, like, yes, animals are attracted to each other by their pheromones and whatnot, but humans are way more nuanced than that, and there's a reason that we're like above animals in the evolution. And I can't pinpoint exactly what it is that makes humans like attracted to each other, but like, yes, there's a sense of wondering if it maybe is only the chemicals and the electricity, but I just feel that there's something more. And then what Pascale said about expectations and you thinking that people need to do something or have to do something puts strain not only on friendships but like all relationships in your life. If you expect something from your parents, from your peers, from like everybody around you, you will not be fulfilled because you cannot control what other people do. And every time that somebody doesn't do something that you expected them to do or that you want them to do, you will feel let down. You will not you will not live in this perfect world you imagine for yourself. And I find that really hard to like come to terms with, because I would like people to act the way I want them to. I would like people to understand my needs, to give me what I need, but the world just doesn't work like that, and it's just really hard to make connections with people when you want to make them just based on your own expectations. So I think that's all I have to say.
But do you believe that you should just completely abandon the idea of getting your expectations to
that's what I'm saying. I said, like, the first time I talked, I said that you should try to find a balance, and that's what I think now too. But finding a balance is just so hard, because you don't know if your expectations are oh my god, I forgot the word, but like you don't know if it's a normal expectation to have. You don't know if it's normal to want your friend to be sad for you, or should they not care about something bad that happened to you, or is your like the thing that happened to you, is it actually pretty minor and even you shouldn't care about it? There's situations that you just don't know because you can't read other people's like minds or like know their feelings. So I think it's that's the thing that makes friendships, like both of you knowing on some level what the other person needs or wants, but also not trying to like predict it. But that's where I think communication comes in. And if you need somebody to like tell you, you just have to ask. You just have to be like, why are you mad at me? Why do you feel this way? Why are you not communicating with me? And I just feel like communication would actually solve like a mountain of problems in like friendship conflicts. That's it.
Thank you. Before I give the word to other people who raised their hand, I just want to point out a phrase that you use, which I think is a really healthy attitude, which is saying, how do I know if what I'm feeling and what I believe in is normal? Now, I wouldn't use the word normal, but I would use an even worse word, which is right. And this is something I wanted to ask all the people who said that they're looking for someone who's similar to them, who stands for the things that they stand for. But that opinion is based on the fact that you strongly believe that what you're standing for right now is right or normal. Especially for our age, when our values and beliefs change from day to day, how do we leave that room for the margin of error? How do we leave the possibility that maybe something we believe in might be misguided, and sometimes that might cost us a friendship with someone who's maybe whose opinion on a certain topic is different than ours. I think Balša or Milica is next in line. Sorry.
Can I? Yeah. Thank you for giving me word. So before I answer your question, which is very interesting, I would love to pinpoint my personal points of view on expectations in friendship. So as Shakespeare once said, expectation is the root of all heartache. And I believe that true friendship is a gift that is given without the expectation of something in return, and that we should all, love without condition and just give without reason, and to care about a specific person that we are friends with without certain expectation. Because I believe that friendship is not an expectation or obligation, and if we expect something from a certain person, then we're not in that friendship specifically for the person, but for something that we can get from her or him. So I believe that the only expectation in friendship we should have is the expectation to be respected and to be honest in a specific relationship. So I think that we have to divide the expectations of those when we need something and then we demand it, and those that will just treat, and those that will the expectation, if we say, I want my friends to respect me, I believe that that is a valuable expectation. But for example, to say I expect my friends to do this for me or give that to me, I think that that's the wrong way to view expectations. And for the question that you asked about similarities and our points of view, which may be right or not, I believe that Ivana gave a really good answer, which is communication, because I believe that friendship is a sphere in which person and people who are involved in it, that's like a place to grow, and it's a place to always learn something. So if we communicate with people and if we communicate with our friends, that's the way that we can maybe change our own points of view. So for example, if I think that something is right, but you don't think that's right, I believe that through a really good and reasonable communication, we will be able to kind of get out of that discussion as more matured people, and we will like experience some kind of growth. So I think that is the real beauty of friendship, because we always learn something new, and I think that it is the beauty of every human sometimes to change his opinion if you think that that's like a good thing to do for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Milica. Helena, I think, raise her hand next.
Thank you. I would also just like to mention the fact that we have multiple varieties of friendships. So necessarily not all friendships are there to just be spiritual or like virtuous. Some are there just for their utility. For example, business friendships. And they do come with the fact that something is expected. So I would not negate the fact that expectations are there and that expectations are valid. But also it is in the nature of some people to just simply, I don't want to say cold, but I'm not like that, so I have to, I don't know. But some people know what they want and they want to get it. So they come off as, they come off just with what they want, what they expect of you, and they're like very clean, if I can say. But also, as Ivana mentioned, we are so much more, we are emotional people, and communication truly is key, as Milica further explained it. Without communication, I don't think any relationship, not a friendship only, but any relationship has no true chance of survival, because you will not find a person that will agree with you in everything. So in order to avoid miscommunication, you really have to talk about issues. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Balša or Nenad? I'm not sure which one was it.
Nenad was first.
Okay. Very sure about the rest of you.
If you want to go, Balša, I can wait. I'm not in a hurry.
Sure. I mean, I won't pass up the chance. What I would like to say is that when it comes to expectations, my real opinion is that yes, they're bad, but they're needed sometimes. Because if you go into everything without any expectations, what are you doing? Like, why are you starting a friendship? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Nothing in this world is done without a reason. And an expectation to need love and affirmation from someone is still an expectation. Like, you can't toss out all of your expectations. There is no single person on earth that can tell me right now that they have no expectations out of anyone. That just doesn't work like that. And when it comes to communication, I would like to say that communication is key, yes. But there is one thing that is called stubbornness. And with people that are really stubborn, which unfortunately I have a few in my life, in my family, there is no way to communicate. You can try. You can definitely try. You give it all that you know. You try to find new ways to catch their attention and get them to understand you. They don't need to think the same as you. They need to understand you. They need to accept you. And when we think of that, like the expectation there from family, they are the same expectations as for friends, at least for me, is that I need to have understanding, love, affirmation, support from those people. But then you start to understand that if they can't understand you, they can't give that to you. And if you can't make them understand you, they will never be able to give that to you. And that is a problem I am faced with when it comes to these things, because you try to find friends. I mean, it's a morbid reason, yes, but you try to find friends to fill in some of the gaps you have in your life, especially the gaps that hurt the most. Someone maybe didn't have a mom while they were growing up. You will notice that those people have a friend that acts really supportive and loving towards them. They don't need to replace their mom, but they do need to replace that little bit of a gap in the love they didn't feel growing up. So Hey, when it comes to the confirmation, I would just like to make a resume. When it comes to the confirmation, I think it's bad, but it's needed. It's an evil that we need in this world. When it comes to communication, it's also needed and it's good, but it's not always useful because there is something that we call stubbornness, unfortunately. That's it. Thank you.
Let me just say before we continue on, just so we sort of get rid of all the what I would call fluff. I think we all here agree that communication is good. Do we all agree on that? That communication saves and betters relationships, even if when you say even if what you said, Balša, sometimes it's not enough and sometimes it doesn't work. I don't know, maybe Nana disagrees, but I would say that all the other people probably think that communication is good. So I would like to, if we, thank you for the likes. Next up is Nenad, yes.
Just to clear things up, I agree that communication is good. Don't leave the pitchforks. There is no need for that. This one's going to be a bit long, so I'm sorry in advance. So, Ivana said that the way of viewing that energy as chemicals and electricity is cold. I would completely agree with that statement, but I disagree with the opinion that it devalues human emotions and the human dialogue. Looking at something from a scientific standpoint does not take away any value from it. Even though I agree that love, happiness, etc., are all beautiful emotions, beautiful abstract terms. One must realize that they all come from some instinct within us from those chemical reactions. Just want to clear that up. Miloš said something very interesting. We all talked about similarities a lot, and we come into contact with other people because we think that our opinions and our actions are correct. If I remember correctly, so I would like to talk about that a bit. The fact that you hold some opinion doesn't have to mean that you automatically assume that it's true. Miss or Mrs. I don't know. Pascale said that she does not have a strong opinion about the subject. She is in a state of wondering.
Time to say I am just wondering. I don't have an opinion on this.
I mean today at least two. So in the sample size of the people that I know, it's not a bad percentage, I would say. But the state, I'm not saying that it's something that you say. The state of wondering is a constant. It's somebody that says that I am most definitely correct. My opinion cannot be changed is a pretty stupid person, if you don't mind me saying. It's by no means a way to approach life in a healthy way, and on top of that, it is completely incorrect. As objectively, the percentage of you being correct about everything in your life is abysmally low, untotally so. But let's skip over that. That's just my opinion. I won't explore upon that any further. And I would just like to reel it back to the original topic that sparked this whole conversation. Are expectations bad or good? I personally, honestly believe that expectations from other people within interpersonal relationships are the stupidest thing you can bring into a relationship, a conversation, etc. I am quite how do you say, I don't know if it's a proper term in the English language, romantic. I believe in the true goodness of actions, true goodness of things, etc., etc., blah, blah, blah. So what that means is, I have mentioned this many times, I stand firmly behind Kant. I believe that Kant is most correct, but it's just a hard theory to apply. Why am I saying all this? At least personally, I try not to go into any relationship with any expectation. I like to believe that I don't expect anything from my friends. I don't expect them to feel sad when I'm sad, to cheer me up. I don't even expect my friends to say hi to me when they see me. What I rely on is their personal goodness, their love they feel towards me. Expectations and following expectations, I believe, completely devalue human relationship and bring them to a state of a contract. A interpersonal relationship should never be a contract. There should never be expectations that are or not to be filled.
So I'm sorry for interrupting. Let me see if I got this straight. So you're saying that if you set expectations for someone, you're assuming that they are not good, that they won't do good to you. But do you believe that essentially all people, even people among your friend group, are essentially benevolent and selfless people?
The benevolency and malevolency of people is something to be discussed on a completely different day. I personally believe that there is an equal dose of malevolency and benevolency within all people. Everybody has a certain appetite for destruction and causing sadness, and I believe in the goodness of their hearts, that it is much greater than the malevolency. I'm not delusional enough to assume that it is easy to be in a relationship without absolutely any expectations. I would be stupid to say anything like that, and even more stupid to believe in something like that. I just believe that it is a correct way to approach a relationship. You should never say, I expect you to do this, 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 and this. Because A, you're putting a strain on somebody, and B, you're devaluing the relationship into something sort of a contract. To make an example, let's take something like
I'm
marriage.
sorry, I have to interrupt you. I think it's already been 10 minutes, and I'm pretty sure we all understood what you're saying, and it's a very interesting opinion that I hope we can...
I'm sorry I took this long. Many apologies. Skip me over the next time I raise my hand.
No, it was interesting. I felt like we didn't need an example.
Good.
I'm sure Sara raised her hand previously.
Yeah, I did. Well, I wanted to talk about the similarities that we've been talking about since this started. I think everyone or a lot of people here are conflating having some kind of similarity to someone with being exactly the same. I believe that if you're completely different in that you don't share like common core values, at least, that you can't be good friends with a person, and maybe none of you will agree, but I feel like, for example, I wouldn't be friends with someone who thinks that abusing animals or children is an okay thing to do, because I don't value a person who does that, and if I don't value someone, I don't think I can be their friend. I think we have to have some kind of common values or common ground to be able to spark up at least a conversation. On the other hand, of course, we should have some kind of differences, because that's a way to learn from each other, a way to see an issue from a different perspective, and I encourage that, and I think that a big part of friendship is bettering yourself and the other person bettering themselves through learning from each other about the world, about each other, and about yourself. But again, I do think we have to have some kind of at least basic compatibility to be friends, because we can't be objective because we're human beings. We have biases. We have things. If, for example, someone is really, really against abusing substances, and you see a person who's dependent on them or addicted, they're probably not going to be friends, at least because of their own biases. And of course, maybe that isn't how it's supposed to be, but that is usually how it is. And I wanted to respond to Nenad's view on expectations. People have said that they think expectations are inherently bad. I don't think so. I think that as long as they're reasonable, they're completely normal. I think it's a part of boundaries that you have to establish in order to have some kind of mutual respect and a friendship that isn't one-sided. I think it's natural to expect that if I am there for my friend, that they will be there for me. Because if they're not, then is it really friendship? I really think that friendship is an exchange of sorts, that we help each other out, that we learn from each other, etc. So I don't think that you can just rely on the assumption that people are inherently good and that they will help you out or be there for you. Because if you don't expect that your friend is going to even say hi to you when you greet him on the street, then I don't see how you've established a friendship, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Although I must say you did use some extreme examples like animal abuse and not saying hi on the street. I think that's a bit extreme. But I do want to say that what Nenad said about all people being good in heart doesn't change the fact that what people define as good is different from person to person. So even if all people are good, maybe they are good in their own way. And that is where I think expectations and communication come in handy, because you can sort of, diminish those differences by communicating what good means to you and what good means to them. I do want to ask you though, you said that from your answer, I got that you believe that similarities are basically your values rather than, let's use the term energy. Is that correct? You think that someone's stance on some question is what defines someone's personality? Well, not entirely, of course, but do you believe that that's the core of someone being similar to someone else?
I think compatibility is very hard to explain, and I think a lot of it is based on things that are subconscious, our biases that we are not even aware of a lot of the time. But I think that the things that one person finds very, important to them, which is why I said core values. Like, I used a very extreme example, and some people have biases that are not as extreme, but I just wanted to really show what I mean. But yeah, I think it's more important to have those kind of things be compatible than, for example, I don't know, your music taste or something.
Yeah, I think you did a good job. I think we all understood what you were trying to say. I must notice though that a lot of people are calling on the subconscious and on the chemicals, and as I understood, the electricity in your brain, which I'm not saying is not true, but I do hope that we can be a little bit more profound than just saying it's just how my chemicals work. Jovan wants to say next something.
Yeah, thank you. So I would this is kind of connected, well, but there is not like a specific kind of people that can make friends. Everyone can make friends. We can't like single out one attribute and say a true friend has to have this attribute. And if he doesn't have it, like for example, I don't know, honesty or forgiveness, he'll never make friends. That's not possible. So friendships and making friendships does not depend on what our persons like. In my opinion, everyone can find a friend. Depends on like they can affect the number of friends, the number of people, and etc. And that would be also presented to us by statistics. Like if we see that someone who's like, I don't know, funny, has a lot of friends, then we would conclude that funny people have a lot of friends, but the ones which are not funny are not necessarily the ones with the low number of friends. So what I want to say is that I want to find a point of friendship. Like everything should have its point. And what would the point of friendship be? Would it be like all of these things are previously mentioned? I don't know, acceptance, or maybe security, or just one person that you can share your success with. Like that could be also be like those categories are not each for their own. They all intersect. So it's very hard to distinct them, but still, it's one question that we should ask ourselves: why is friendship actually there? Then I want also to say that, in my opinion, a main factor for friendship is time. Time is absolutely the main factor. You can't make friends immediately. And that's why I think the friendships from the childhood, I think the friendships from childhood are much cleaner if they haven't like been torn up until, I don't know, 20 years of age or something like that. For what reason? Especially because of expectations. When we are young, we can't have expectations. We don't want, I mean, we want someone to play with or something like that. Those are our expectations in a way, but we don't have like a serious tendency to manipulate someone or to get something out of him. And then why is it that friendship is so much clear? Because we do it subconsciously. We don't make friendships in order to have friendships, to have someone by our side, to have any of those reasons that I've mentioned before. We do it just because, I don't know, he affected us at that moment. We wanted to be with him or something like that. And then once we actually understand how valuable having friendship is, I mean, what is perceived by as valuable friendship, we are happy that we have it. We already have it. Now we can appreciate everything that we have, and maybe even more in the future. The fact such a friend. When we get older, expectations play a big part. I think that there is no friendship which started when you are older without expectations, with exception of troubles which I mentioned before. Like if we were in a war state and I was a soldier with my friend, like we were forced to be one with another, and we couldn't get any utility out of him. So we became friends also in a way subconsciously, not like with intention of making him. That's why I think when we do something and later on we realize, oh, actually that's so valuable. The thing that we made, the thing that works now is so good and so valuable. That feeling is much stronger and greater than if we had a goal. If we said, oh, I want to be friends with this person, and if I succeed, I'll be so happy. He's like my favorite person ever, or something like that. But after we made it, after we succeeded, and then we say, man, like I made something, I think that relief kind of feeling is much greater than setting a goal, setting expectations, or something like that, and then achieving it.
Okay, thank you. I think you asked a very important question that I wanted, that I was hoping that this conversation would be based around, which is, what is the point of a friendship? A lot of people mention validation, affection, acceptance, which is basically a herd instinct, which is in psychology known as gregariousness. And I can't help but point out that even rodents feel this sort of need. So I'm inclined to believe that we are a bit more than that. So I'm hoping we can get to what that bit more is. Nina, you have the word.
Miloš, Pascale has to leave us, so you have to give word to her.
Okay, sure.
Thank you, Yasminka. I'm sorry, I thought the meeting was 1 hour, so I have another meeting at 3:30. How long are you going to stay together to discuss?
I'm guessing as long as we bore each other, but I don't think it's going to
Okay.
be.
So
I don't
it's
think
an
it's going to.
ongoing thing. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so, though. I don't think we're going to be here longer than maybe an hour.
Okay. Well, I would like to, since I have to go, I'd just like to say goodbye. But before I say goodbye, I think you're engaging with a lot of honesty, and it's a very agreeable and inspiring thing to spend time like that talking about important issues that we barely often make space for in our lives. Before I leave, I also wanted to say friendship is not a topic that I think so often about. And I was thinking, why did I say that? And it's because I spend much more time thinking about love. And my impression is that when I'm thinking about friendship, it's another kind for me. So now I'm not wondering. I'm just saying my experience. It's another kind of love. Are you going to have another conversation on communication?
I really hope not.
That would be very interesting. Can I show you one thing before leaving?
Yeah, of course.
Is it okay to share a screen? Is that part of the, yeah?
Yeah.
Share my screen.
Yes, of course.
You're all familiar, I suppose, with nonviolent communication as a method?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
So you see my screen?
Not yet, but this group was part of education for, that's it, yes.
You see it?
Yes.
Right, so I have these people on my desktop because I think they look like friends, definitely. And here's the NVC model in a photo. Can you see it?
Yes.
And I found it interesting when listening to what we were saying in our conversation. That in this model, there is, from observing and being attentive to the other and the other's feelings, there is a part still where you're expressing needs and what they're calling here requests, which I found interesting to share with you, because when I was listening to you, I was very often thinking about, it's funny if I look at the framework of nonviolent communication with what you're saying, it's actually maybe more open. What I'm thinking is that who I am today might not be the same person as who I am in a month, especially with what we're living right now. For example, I see people right in front of me who are changing, who are having difficulties with the pandemic and everything that it's doing. So people understanding also how people change with time is something that is sometimes difficult. It's a challenge. Let me stop sharing this so you can see me instead.
I just wanted to tell you that these students, some of these students were part of some experimental part of experimental education for competencies for democracy.
Okay, I see. All right. Yeah, so working on our personal responsibility with all these questions of relationships. Absolutely.
Yes.
To change them.
I hope so.
Yeah, so I think this the aspect of observation and openness to change is also something that we need to think of when we're thinking of friendship.
And I hope you will join us maybe in a week or two in another session.
Okay, with pleasure. Now that I know it's long, then I'll free my afternoon for it.
We are always planning to talk about an hour, and it always ends in 3 hours.
Okay, I see. All right. That's great. I wanted to thank everyone for having me, and thank you, Jasminka, for inviting me.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
It was our pleasure to have you. Thank you for coming. We hope you join us some other time.
Tell me when you know what friendship is, okay?
Yes, we will send you how to say short movie about this.
Ah, okay. Sounds good. Looking forward. Oh, wait. One question. How come you all speak such wonderful English? Have you been abroad, or are you learning?
That could be a topic for another cafe.
Most of us are in a bilingual class.
I think we're in a generation which is very much exposed to English since basically we were born. So that.
Yes, but young people your age in France don't speak English that way. So
yeah, well, we live in a different societal vibe, as you say.
Exactly.
American media has been pushed to us since an early age, and it's easier to pick up.
Okay, I see. It's here too, but okay. Congrats.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
I think Nevena is next in line.
Okay, but I was about to talk when Pascale was here, so I think I almost forgot what I was about to say. Anyway, I wanted to say that I think we can simplify all of this about friendship, because when two persons meet, the important thing is that they have the same value system actually. So if two persons meet on that same level, they can be friends in that way. And about friendship as a form of love, we can say that there are many forms of love, and I believe that it can all come to friendship. And if love is a healthy kind of love, it can be named as friendship, I believe, because the main thing in love, any kind, like in a love relationship or sexual relationship or any kind, it's the main purpose of it has to be friendship on the first way, so it can be pure. I don't know how to say that. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I just now realized Mina was about to talk when we had to include Pascale, and I'm sorry for that. So you can continue now, if you still want to, of course.
Yes, I do. It's okay. Thank you. Well, what I wanted to say or touch upon is two things you actually said, Miloš, because he asked some really good questions that nobody really seemed to later on refer to. The first one is, when do we know that what our opinions are and what our stances on life are right, and where's the space, or what's the amount of space we need to leave in order to let someone else in our life and build a friendship with people. And also the other thing he mentioned is that we only talked about the points of friendship being created to validate our own feelings and opinions, and that is I think a concept which is very simple, and we should probably try to answer it on a more complex level. And I would like to start by saying that really, like, the similarity of two people is something which is of course obvious, and that's how people connect on mundane levels based on what movies they like to watch and what music they like to listen to. But then in the end, are those things really something that we need to mention when it comes to friendships? I think that friendship in general is something that should only help us change ourselves. And that's the whole point of it. So spending time with people who are completely similar to us and have all the same opinions and stuff is like most of you said, actually not really good and not really desirable. But I don't think we should spend time with someone who has completely different views on life necessarily to change our minds and change ourselves, but someone who is able to actually make us or bite us back, basically. When we stagnate and we start to not really work on ourselves and change our views and opinions on the world, that's when that person who is a friend should come in and provoke us to change our minds, views, and to actually help us grow ourselves. Of course, this is not like a selfish thing. This should be reciprocal, so both sides should receive this type of change, and this is what I believe a friendship actually needs to be in order to be a good quality friendship. Because I don't think we need to mention friendships which are because people are humans are social creatures, and so we create friendships with people just based on work or by some accidental situations in our life. But I don't think we should really concentrate on those things, but rather people who change us and who provoke us to change. So of course, and I wanted to add that the space to always, it's important to leave space in your belief that you are right, because as soon as you start believing that your view, even if you think you have formed a view on something, as soon as you think you are 100% right, you are basically sabotaging yourself, in my opinion. So that's something you should always stop yourself, even if you have no friends to share those opinions with. Thanks.
Thank you, Mina. I think the question you were asking, or like the argument you were proposing, really comes down to even a more simpler question, which is basically, is someone's purpose in life to change, to achieve their own personal best, or is it just to feel good? Because we can't just discard the idea of how good you feel when you're with someone who you feel secure next to, who you feel validated with. We can't just discard it because we still don't really know for sure whether that's, the purpose, that's what you should be doing anyways. I think that sometimes maybe we not necessarily sacrifice, but we think of those as less noble goals, rather than, as you said, which I personally agree with what you said, is that the goal is growing and developing as a person. People who push you beyond your limits are people you should keep around. But maybe we're wrong. Maybe that's not the point at all. And maybe if your view on what your purpose is to feel good at any given time, then maybe keeping people around you that make you feel good and secure and validated, like you belong somewhere, is the right way to go about it. Now I would like to give the word to Mena. I think I made him wait for about half an hour, which I feel really good about, but I have to give him the word.
Wise choice. Just to reel it back before going a bit further, I believe it was Sara that asked, how can there be a friendship where you don't even say hi to somebody? It was an exaggerated example on my part, but I stand firmly behind it. Here's why. I have many friends who most likely do not consider me a friend. Friendship is not something that is agreed upon. Friendship is something that you extend to somebody and they have the choice of reciprocation. Again, I would like to put Kant into the dialogue. Why? As I extend to somebody my friendship to somebody, I treat them with the utmost respect, the utmost love, empathy, etc., etc. I do not expect anything else in return. It is theirs. I believe that they should, but it is something that everybody should do. But it's only human, and it's their choice. Will they or will they not act as I do? Miloš also talked about how prescribing everything to electricity and chemicals is a bit, what's the opposite of profound? Shallow, yes. I completely disagree with that. There is nothing wrong with saying that it's basic chemistry when we're talking about something as noble and as grand as it may be. It devalues nothing from it. While I cannot say for certain that there is something greater than that within a human being, but I believe that it's important when understanding oneself, one's emotions, one's thought, to understand where the base is. Let's say that's it for me. I mostly agree with what Mina said, so I can't add much to that.
Well, I must say that's a first. I will ask you a question though. I'll make an assumption that you believe in evolution, like core biological evolution.
Yeah.
Do you? Yeah, okay. So if you believe that the way our bodies function on a neuro level, that the way our emotions are controlled by the chemistry of the hormones and whatnot, do you also believe that there might be an evolutionary reason that we evolved to a point where we can wonder about, is there anything more?
It's difficult to say because the basis of evolution is changing oneself in order to adapt. Humans, our ancestors, great ancestors, lived in such an environment that needed little less adaptation. So the process of wondering, it's a question if it can be prescribed to evolution. One can't help but wonder if other animals are capable of doing such a thing, perhaps not on the same level as humans, but it's reasonable to assume that they can in one way or another. And if we did evolve to a point where we are the only one that are capable of abstract thinking and wondering, perhaps there was a reason. I can't think of one, but I'm not exactly an expert on the field. It may surprise you, so can't really say much about that.
Okay. I mean, I don't really know what to answer to that. Let's give the word to Nevena. Yeah, Nevena.
Is it my turn now, or I couldn't hear?
Yeah, it's your turn.
Okay, thank you. I have to go fast, so I only wanted to say that I believe that friendship is the best kind, and true friendship, the best kind of it is that when we have a connection with someone, and we, because of other person, unconsciously want to be better version of ourselves, and by the time passes we become the best version of ourselves. So that's the best kind of friendship, because most friendships fall apart because people change, and people are not next to each other when they change, so they can't recognize the person that is in front of them after some time. So the best kind is to be next to each other and to, I don't know, just make other person become even better, to recognize the good adjectives in other person and to make them grow. So the best kind of form of love and friendship is that we grow together. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Mina had her hand raised for a while, but she no longer does. Does our teacher want to add something? I believe you're...
Yes, yes. I was listening carefully as much as it was possible. All of your speeches. and tried to write down something what you were talking. And I will try to make some resume and to add something from philosophical point of view. Where is my, where am I in this?
An amazing question.
Yes, I'm here. Okay, I want to tell you that first thing I want to tell you is that we missed something very important, that the oldest written record in the history of our civilization is the Epicus of Gilgamesh and the story about Gilgamesh and Enkidu. This story is showing us that there is no reciprocity in friendship. Someone is always superior. But very interesting turn happened in that story. Enkidu, Gilgamesh was superior, but when he lost his friend Enkidu, he realized that he lost a huge part of himself. So Enkidu forced him to change himself and made him better person. Just in that act of dying, of missing. The other thing I wanted to tell you, the second thing, is about philosophy itself. I don't know, maybe some of you remember, at the beginning of this school year, I said that word philosophy is a complex word made of two words, two Greek words, Philein and Sophia. Philein doesn't only mean to love, but to be in a relation of friendship, to be a friend. And Sophia doesn't mean only wisdom, but also friendship. It seems paradoxically to say that the word philosophy is pleonasm, and it simply means friendship. So when you are studying philosophy, you are going through very difficult books, reading texts which are sometimes quite difficult to understand. The text is a friend. Friend is something different, but if we are patient enough and if we are trying to understand it, the text becomes a friend of us, part of us. As Aristotle said, friend is my different nature. He's part of me. No matter how different friends are, they are one person. So Pascale was right. Love and friendship is the same thing. There is difference between love between two persons. When you need someone, when you when there is another aspects of love are included, but in the end it is the same. It is pure love. Plato would say the same. So that's all I wanted to tell you. Think about philosophy as a friendship, not only about science you have to go through. That's all.
Thank you. So what I understood is that we shouldn't look at friendships either as a sort of a science, as a way to get something out of it through working for it, but people who are, I must notice, a bit different entities than philosophy. What should we look at? What should we try to get out, if anything, with people, with basically people and all friendships? I was directing that question at you, but we can have other people.
You asked me.
Yeah, I was.
Can you repeat the question, please? What did you want to say? Rephrase it.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think my internet lagged a little bit. What's your position on what should people try to get out of friendships, if anything? And if not, then what is the purpose of friendship?
There is no purpose of friendship. Friendship just is. There is no personality without friendship. It is not possible to be a character if you are not a friend. Friendship is a part of us if we are characters, if we are persons. Is it enough for your...
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about, and it's a very interesting approach. Jovan raised his hand.
Thank you for the word. First I'll observe what our teacher said. So in the case of friendship, and it's necessary for us to be full persons or full characters, I kind of liked thinking of one modern intellectual whose name I can't remember. Well, he said friendship is a good thing. It's part of us. It's important, but it's not necessary. He compared friendship to like loss of our sight. Everyone would love to have to see, obviously, but we don't appreciate it while we had it. In case if we lost our eyes or we became blind, we would want it, but it doesn't mean that we wouldn't exist. We wouldn't be we still wouldn't be a person. We would be a person which would have need of having something, but it does not necessarily have to mean we are not as complete as some person which has eyes. And as well, this was not my opinion at the start of the café. It was actually pretty opposite. But the more and more we talked, I think that I realized that there is no point in discussing friendship because friendship is, or any other like connection between people, any other I don't know, relationship, because it just depends so much on the persons, on their differences, on their attributes, on what they want, if they want anything, that you can't simply just make rules. That's like if all of us were pieces of puzzle, and we would have to say puzzle has to have this and this to be like complete with others. No, like one puzzle can find another in the bunch which suits it. with which it can connect, but they are not like the same. They are just puzzles, and that's our only they are just pieces of puzzle, and that's like same with us. We are just humans, and that makes us or living beings. If we want to widen it, for example, we can be friends with our pets or something like that. We are just living beings. We are just pieces of puzzles, and there are no rules with which puzzles we can connect. There are some which don't have same holes, or like which don't look the same, but we can also connect with them. Like there is simply no rules in friendship or any other relationships.
Well, I completely agree with you.
Me personally, for example, completely disagree with him. I believe that there's a point in discussing absolutely everything, especially the point of absolutely everything, because I also strongly believe, and you might judge me for this, that people aren't born perfect, and that sometimes hearing someone think about something as basic as friendship in a different way than yours might, on some occasion, change your perspective and change your position on something. And I completely disagree with not being able to ever understand rules of anything. Nenad said, and this is entirely correct, that there's absolutely nothing random that happens inside our body, including our minds. It's all a reaction of something to something, which we will never get to the bottom of entirely. But I think it's a very foolish attitude to just stop trying to understand yourself, because I do believe there are some things you can understand about why you react to different things, why you do some things, and why you like certain people. Nenad wanted to add something?
May I shed something, because I think I wasn't clear enough. I don't think that my friend, no matter how he is my another nature and part of me, need to have the same point of view. Friends make us richer person just because they think differently. Sometimes you make a fight with your friends, and it is very good to make fight with them. It doesn't mean if someone agrees in everything with you that he's your real friend. That's it. That's all I wanted to say about this.
Thank you. Nenad, do you want to keep it shorter this time? Not too short.
Yeah, probably. I don't think that I can extend this more than several sentences. So, what Miloš said, I would agree with Miloš agreeing with me, and I would like to expand a bit on that. He said that it is that the processes behind the human thinking can never be truly discovered. We will never really come to the bottom of it. Now, I believe that it's a good thing, and it is in no way a reason to give up on trying to explain them. Often do we have stories of people who saw a promised land within something, and they worked hard to achieve that goal, and when they came there, it stopped being special. I believe that it's the same with philosophy, and the beauty of philosophy is that it is only valuable while we understand absolutely nothing. Once we begin to understand life and the questions that plague everybody's minds is the point where we stop to wonder, and where philosophy becomes completely redundant, and it is not a world that I would really like to live in. Thank you.
Very sweet and short. Good job. Jovan raised his hand again. I am assuming to reply to our points.
Yeah, like I don't think that, as you said, we should not try to discover ourselves or say no, that's not important, that you can't make staples about that topic or something like that. But I think that's in case with us, like we need to make some rules for every person, or just to see it as a whole. Like if you notice a special I don't know, attributes, then that will draw a certain percentage of a probability that that person has another attitude, or how he will act in certain scenarios. But why do I think that friendships are different? Because friendships are not individual. Friendships just consist of too many factors. Those are two persons which need to interfere, and the ways in which they interfere, the ways in which all of those things happen are just so numerous, so random that I don't think you can really make a staple for all of those like factors which combine. And that's just my opinion. I think, I mean, your opinion has also its downsides and upsides, but I think that there are just too many variables to say for certain what friendship should represent, what should it give you, and how is it made.
So in one way or another, agree with you. It's a very, very complex subject. I do have a question though that I don't think got answered from the I would say start. Is it's inspired by something Ivana said. She did use the word "we are above animals," and this is just something I am curious about learning, and I want to hear everyone's opinions on what is it that makes us above animals. Don't we all want the same things animals want? Food, shelter, security, affection, and all those primal, should I say, not instincts, but needs. What does everyone think rises us above animals? And I think answering that or getting different views on that might answer our question on what we should look for in a friendship that's more than just affection and validation. Nenad has his hand up. I don't think it's a reply to my question, but you can go in. Nenad? Okay, we'll skip him for a second. Mina?
Well, I would say that what distinguishes us from animals is how we use our abilities to rise ourselves. So we are inherently not above animals. We were on the same level as them a few thousands of years ago. But the way we use our resources, which were our selfishness, I would say, firstly, is what kind of brought us up. But that doesn't mean that still with all of the world we have built in which we are number one and the animals are beneath us is something that we should take as an inherent fact. Because I think by considering and thinking that we are above them, we are just not really progressing in any way. We are just downsiding our progress in the future.
Stagnating, you mean?
Yes.
Well, yes, that's one way of thinking about it. I see Nenad is back. Can he hear us?
Yeah.
Do you want to actually, Sara raised her hand?
Yeah, I raised my hand. Sorry, my battery died.
Oh.
I don't know if I missed anything. I'm sorry.
Well, I just gave Sara the word, so if you, yeah.
No, I'm sorry that I missed it.
I'll speak after him if he wants to.
I'm pretty sure he's fine with it.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, okay then. Well, I think what kind of separates us from the rest of the animal kingdom is our inherent unsatisfaction. there's been, I guess, studies and people have researched this, and I guess that humans are inherently unsatisfied with what they do, and that's kind of what's pushed us, along with our curiosity and our desire for knowledge and understanding, to build up our world and kind of get to where we are right now. Because if we were satisfied with caves and very primitive language, gesticulation, we would have left it at that. But I think this sort of lack of satisfaction tied with the desire to to improve ourselves is something that definitely makes us differ, as well as our self-awareness. We are a lot more self-aware than other animals. So I think that the mixture of those things is what kind of gave us this human condition that we live in. And I think that I've talked about how we look for friends who will help us better ourselves and know more. And that's, I guess, why I think that is tied to friendship as well. The sort of the desire to know more, to be more aware and be better.
So you believe it's completely natural for humans to try to understand more and more and look for purpose in more and more things in life?
I do think so. I think it's a part of us.
Yeah, I personally agree with that too. We will be ending the discussion in a couple of minutes. Nenad Drmačkas had his hand for a while.
Are you sure you want me to speak last?
Well, you won't be last, but...
Good.
Yeah.
So I would like to say that I completely agree with most of the things that Sara said right now. I completely agree with the motion that it's completely human to want to understand more about everything, including oneself. And I realized that I didn't answer the last question that Miloš said, well, at least the last while I was here. He asked what should we aim to gain from friendship. In my opinion, one should aim every relationship based on love, everything based on love, friendship, religion, etc., etc. It's the point of it is to gain satisfaction through dedication. Our professor said it best. It is not friendship is not a relationship of reciprocation. Nobody guarantees reciprocation, and nobody should expect reciprocation from it. It should be. I've said this countless times, and I paraphrase it yet again. It is a contract which two people go into unwillingly, without any ifs, without any buts, without any kind of pressure there or baseline. That's how it should go. And just on a side note, I disagree that there are countless factors that go into friendship. I believe that there are two: one person loving the other person, and the second person loving the first person. That's all there is to it.
A very interesting and very concise point. We have time for maybe two more remarks. So Mina and then Sara.
I accidentally left my hand up, sorry.
Oh, okay. The next two of you. Jovan Despot has a point to make.
I would just like to clarify, because he said love, like two factors, loving of two persons. I mean, you first need to define what's loving a person, and after that, like if we are discussing already about loving, friendship, I don't know. For some people, it's the same thing. For me, it's not. There are like two things which are again not the same. They intercept, but not the same. So if you say that's the reason, I would like to see your observation on this point by explaining me what loving is and what loving is dependent on.
That is a great question that will require a whole new philosophy cafe to answer. And unfortunately, this one is over.
Just 2 sentences about it. Love and friendship are the branches of the same tree, Heidegger said. They are very similar, but they are not the same. Philosophers usually think that friendship is the highest form of love because there is no desire and there are no interests. So only pure love. That's it.
Thank you. And as it appears that we have no more new hands raised, I would like to thank everyone who stayed till the very end and all those people who had to leave us, unfortunately. I hope everyone had a very, let's say, meaningful time here with us, and I hope everyone joins us on Sunday for our next Philosophy Cafe.